Spartans! What is your profession?
Part of spiritual development is to recognize the satanic tendencies that characterize you and to fully wrestle with them and to integrate them. That's the thing. It's not so much to cast them away, it's to transmute them. And you can see the difference between people who've done that and people who haven't, at least to some degree, because people who haven't integrated the shadow at all are naive. And you can tell that when you look at them, and you can tell that when you talk to them. And because they're naive, they're often resentful as well because they get taken advantage of. And someone who's integrated that more, they're dangerous in the martial arts sort of way, which is they're dangerous, but they don't have to use it because their presence radiates implicit potential for havoc. And that's really necessary. It's one of the things that gives people self-respect.
If you're harmless, you're not virtuous. If you're a monster and you don't act monstrously, then you're virtuous. So it's very peculiar, but it's a very, 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 very common mythological notion. The hero has to be a monster, but a controlled monster. Batman is like that, it's everywhere. It's the story you always hear.
If you're going to be a fighter, you have to want to win. And you have to want to hurt people. Not for the sake of hurting them. That's what makes you different than an evil person. But you have to have that capacity, you have to develop that. It's very helpful for people to hear that they should make themselves competent and dangerous and take their proper place in the world, because it's the alternative to being weak. And weak is not good. The people who shoot up the high schools, they're weak. They're weak. And life is a very difficult process, and you're not prepared for it unless you have the capacity to be dangerous. There's a statement in the New Testament, the meek shall inherit the earth. But the meek isn't well translated. It means something more like, those who have swords and know how to use them but keep them sheathed will inherit the world. You should be a monster, an absolute monster, and then you should learn how to control it.
If you are not capable of cruelty, you are absolutely a victim to anyone who is. It's impossible to respect yourself until you grow teeth. And if you grow teeth, then you realize that you're somewhat dangerous, or maybe somewhat seriously dangerous, and then you might be more willing to demand that you treat yourself with respect and other people do the same thing. What it means is that being able to be cruel and then not being cruel is better than not being able to be cruel. Because in the first case, you're nothing but weak and naive. And in the second case, you're dangerous, but you have it under control. We're not training you to fight. We're training you to be peaceful and awake and avoid fights. But if you happen to have to get in one, and I guess the philosophy also is that if you're competent at fighting, that actually decreases the probability that you're going to have to fight, because when someone pushes you, you'll be able to respond with confidence, and with any luck, and this is certainly the case with bullies, with any luck, a reasonable show of confidence, which is very much equivalent to a show of dominance, is going to be enough to make the bully back off. And so the strength that you develop in your monstrousness is actually the best guarantee of peace. And that's partly why Jung believed that it was necessary for people to integrate their shadow. It's through an analysis of your own shadow that you can come to understand why other people are capable, and you as well, of the sorts of terrible atrocities that characterized, let's say, the 20th century. And without that understanding, there's no possibility of bringing it under control. It's also partly why the path to enlightenment and wisdom is seldom trod upon, because if it was all a matter of following your bliss and doing what made you happy, then everyone in the world would be a paragon of wisdom, but it's not that at all.
You don't become safe by being castrated.
All right. Like I said, welcome to another segment of Mindful Hustlers. I'm with my brother Mo Money, the Don, and I got Jace Digital on the far end right there. Let everybody know a little bit about yourself.
What up? I'm Jace, Edmonton-based photographer, videographer, rapper. I know Tony from way back, and we've been launching this podcast together for a couple months now, so I'm excited to be here.
Right on. Let's hear it from Money Mo.
Mo, been in Edmonton most of my life. Know San Antonio from way back, from our past and been tight ever since, and we
Amen
like
to
family.
that.
So
Let's go.
let's go.
I think we're about like 7 or 8 years strong.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We're going stronger.
Yeah, no
Let's
doubt.
go. We ain't stopping. You know?
We knew each other before then.
Yeah,
too,
even
just-
before then, but that's a whole different story that we're not talking about right now.
We'll save it for another one.
We'll save it for something else. But yeah, this segment is about the power of the monster within. Most people think being good means being harmless. That being said, you're not weak. But Jordan Peterson was talking about when he said, you need to become a monster is truly a good man isn't weak. He is strong. He is dangerous. But he mastered himself. And like a few times myself, mastery is everything. You know, mastering your inner beast. You know, make that beast your strength, but you know, it is still tamed. It doesn't outleash, but when you're ready to rock and roll, you know, it takes 1 second for that just to freaking to pop off, unleash that other side of you and just attack. You need to learn to master oneself. He got the ability to do harm, but he also chose to unless it was necessary, because deep down he knows the world doesn't respect weakness, and we all know that. That's why I work out, I train every single day and get it. You know what I mean? It's only respect, and respect is either made from fear or controlled power. Let's go. The world doesn't respect the weak. You see it every day. The nice guys always finish last or get walked on. The humble man gets overlooked, and the harmless soul gets chewed up and spit out. The world isn't built
Can I
for
add to
sheep.
that?
Yes.
You see that in relationships too.
Yes.
A nice guy gets walked on, like in a relationship.
100%.
If you're too nice, you get walked on. You get, taken advantage of. You
Yes.
get, mistreated in the relationship, or you get cheated on, left. You know what I mean? Sometimes being too nice or being too giving,
Yes. It will backfire.
it'll backfire. It'll show as a weakness. You know what I mean?
Do you have any situations, Jason, where even in any relationships where that you notice that without being like assertive and strong and I guess you can say domineering, I guess in a sense, would affect your relationship and how people would view you or look at you?
I mean, I've definitely been in situations where, I have good nature and people have taken advantage of that.
Yes.
Where feeling like I'm being nice to cater that person's bullshit when they do me wrong again and again.
Yeah.
And, people do view that as a weakness and they will prey on you.
That's right.
They need something from you. So,
That's right.
yeah, definitely just not allow that bullshit because people will just take advantage of that.
That's right.
Yeah, it's good to be nice. It's good to be caring. It's good to do good things for people.
Yes.
But you also gotta take it for how they reciprocate that back to you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean?
100%, man. I totally agree. But we live in a world where there is sheep. You know what I mean? There's some shepherds.
And as the time goes,
Yeah.
there's more and more and more sheep, and there's less and less and less wolves.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Straight up. And, even God got wolves too, man. I'm right here. You know what I mean? Tear people up, if I have to. But, I still have that stillness. I have my pack. And also I can stand alone. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And wolves can be like some dangerous creatures. They know when to attack. You know what I mean? They are humble beasts. They're majestic. They're strong-willed. They never give up. Loyal as down to a T. They only have one mate their whole lives. And that's it. Only one mate. When that mate dies, they don't even try to seek out anybody else. Mm-hmm. But that's what you got to do with God. Not just God. Sometimes in some relationships, you know what I mean? That's the other side of me, But so yeah, the harmless people get chewed up. The world isn't built for sheep; it's built for lions. And when you're too soft, people take advantage of that. They test you. They push the boundaries and strip away your dignity, one piece at a time. That's why you need to cultivate the monster within you, not to terrorize, but to ensure that you never become the prey.
But with that, you also need control.
That's right.
Because with being a monster, with having the ability to become a monster,
The capacity.
you could lose control quick.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because you have that aggressiveness and you know you could easily take this or easily do this or easily, you know what I mean? So it's a fine line between... That's why I don't like the word be a monster. Like, I get what he's saying by saying be a monster, but I don't like... Because what do you associate monsters with? You associate monsters with being cruel. You associate monsters with, murder. Yeah. You associate...
But you know what?
I think
That's
what it
true,
means is,
but...
like, the capacity for extreme violence.
Yes.
Yes. For sure.
Yeah, that does sound a lot better. But you're right. But maybe we're just trying to change the terminology of monster. Yeah. Just a little bit. Look at it from a different perspective.
Yeah, you could, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Look at Beauty and the Beast, I guess.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
And you're the beauty.
All right, thank
I guess
you.
I'm the beast.
Well,
you know what I mean? Actually, no, Joey's more. Joey's Joey's a little bit prettier. He's the beauty. You got two beasts over here. Yeah. I don't know about it all. Well, yeah, okay, this guy's dangerous. I'm not gonna lie, this guy is ex-military. This guy can put a bullet in me, no problem. I'm not even bad as I. You know what I mean? But he's gonna think twice, though. He's gonna think twice. Am I gonna make it to my gun? Sometimes you gotta think twice.
For you, I wouldn't be talking shit until I had the gun in my hand.
Yeah, exactly. So it makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense. But yeah.
But yeah, it's about control.
Yes.
He even said it also, right? It's about control.
Jordan Peterson, he's talking about.
Yes, sir. It's about control. You have to know when to use it. Like you were saying, it's like a martial art. You got to know when to use it, when to not use it.
Yeah.
You can take for example, like police.
Yes.
You know what I mean? They got the means to be monsters in a sense, or aggressive, you could say.
When are they not monsters?
But that's what I was gonna get to. That was my next point.
Okay, all right. Yeah, go ahead.
Some of them take it over the top. Like they become power hungry. So because they have that ability to be aggressive, because they're holding the gun, they got the law behind them, this, that. They got the ability to be aggressive, and then it gets to their head.
Yes.
See how easy that could switch?
Yes.
And if you get that power fast,
without working for it,
that becomes dangerous, because then you don't know when to use it, when to control it, when to tame that monster in you.
That's right, 100%. I have experienced that more than enough times.
I'm sure we all have.
With the police. There's some good cops out there.
100%.
I'm not gonna lie, but sometimes, some people get a lot of power hungry. You hear it in the news every day.
It's everywhere.
Someone be reaching for their wallet or something and get shot, and they don't even have no gun on them. You know what I mean? And that's a serious thing that's been going on in freaking the States, and pretty much even in Canada. Man's be coming up with their hands out and getting blasted. You know what I mean? Because this guy never got in confrontation.
You know what else I think could be happening? Possibly could be happening. It could be police that don't have that monster in them, and that's why they're quick to grab their gun and shoot, because they're afraid, because they're scared. They don't know what's gonna happen. They don't have that monster in them.
That's right.
So they're quick to use excessive force.
Yes.
Exactly.
It's not strong, confident men who go shoot up a school and someone who doesn't have that inner confidence.
That's right.
Strong men don't do shit like that.
Straight up.
Same thing with cops. Like, if that cop knew how to fight, he could just fuck that guy up and put him in cuffs, but they're afraid, so they pull their gun and shoot.
Yeah,
exactly.
True. Real one. That's some real 101 stuff right there.
And with the generation that's going on, right? Like with as time goes by, I should say,
men are getting weaker.
100%.
Let me put that out there. No joke. Men are a bunch of little punk ass little P words. Okay? Peons.
Why do you think they're teaching our kids that they should chop off their dicks?
100%.
Yeah.
They're trying to demasculinize our society so we can't fight back.
Exactly. So that's why niggas be quick to shoot, because they can't fight no more.
And
when was the last time you had a freaking nice 1-2 school fight? You know what I mean? And become best friends after. Because you know what, man? Back in my day, shit, I used to catch a little 1-2. I give a guy a 1-2 fade and like, bro, can we be friends after?
We done yet?
Yeah. Can we be friends? But you check each other's strength. and your weaknesses. You learn from each other and stuff like that, and build that bonding. Yo, a 1-2 fist sometimes build some fucking relations. Like, yo, that guy was strong, or yo, that guy could take a punch. Yo, that guy's.
And some people need a 1-2 sometimes to learn.
They
you know
do.
what I'm saying?
Yo, that you ain't shit. There's someone bigger. You know what I mean? Sometimes a brother gets humbled. I'm not gonna lie, I got humbled not too long ago. I don't know, it was like in October or something like that. You know, I was a big bad beast, but yo, a pack of wolves hit me. Like a pack. Yo. A pack of wolves freaking got at me, but guess what? I still got up. I laughed it off, had a couple more drinks, danced with a few girls, and I didn't forget that it really even happened. It was crazy. But yo, those guys, I emerged like a freaking monster, a beast screaming like, I can't. You know what I mean? Scattered.
And you know what? Maybe even after that, some of those dudes respected you after walking away. You never
That's
know,
true.
right?
Yo,
Like,
100%.
like, dude, actually,
The guy's did his own. He still got up.
Exactly.
He got up, even though I got kicked in the jaw, almost knocked out. I still walked like I did not fall down. That's all I gotta say. Yeah, that was good. You know, strong. You know what I mean? Men need to be like that.
But yeah, man. Nowadays, with what they're teaching us in schools, or not us, but what they're teaching the kids in schools, and how they're being too. You know, when you say someone was too sheltered in their life, oh, that guy who grew up, you can tell that guy was too sheltered, or that guy, you know what I mean? He's not street smart because he was too sheltered.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I feel like they're kind of, with what they're doing, like what the society's doing is kind of, they're sheltering everybody. And then, I mean, we could dig deper in that. Maybe it's because they want a weaker society, because society
can't think for themselves.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
100%.
yeah, exactly.
100%.
They're easy to control.
That's
100%, man. DC said it right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
A weak man can be controlled. You know what I mean?
Nowadays, like it's tough, man. It's tough, and it makes you scared to. It makes you scared to raise children.
Yeah, it does.
You know what I mean?
It is.
My kid go to school, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, like what? You homeschooling your kid?
Yeah, I'm going.
Yeah,
100%.
option.
We'll see.
You know what? It's good to get a little taste of both, because you don't want them to be like, you know, awkward and shit like that around other people. So you want to have your kids to experience what waste men's be out there. You know what I mean?
There's other ways to get that exposure, though.
Yeah.
Sports, training, fighting.
Just true. That's true. There is.
Right,
but still.
You can be more selective as opposed to just like trust the curriculum and the teachers and these other people's kids who don't even know what type of shit they're bringing, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, yeah. I agree, too, man. Catch that. People out there, you got to listen. Like, straight out, monitor your children and what they do in every aspect that you bring to the table, and also in their own lives. You know what I mean? Because you have to be a freaking monster. You got to protect your children from the real monsters out there. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
It's just like even most individuals, like, you know, the people that prey on children and stuff, they look at their parents, and if they look weak and soft, they attack those children. That is like statistically. Yo, DC, check that out for us right now.
Why do you think when you work out, everything's positive? When you work out, it creates like positive, like, doesn't it release dopamine?
Yeah.
You know, makes you feel better, gives you confidence. We're meant to have, like, back in the day. You look at back in the day when people were hunting for their food, and you had to be fit.
Yeah.
If you weren't fit, you weren't eating.
Nah.
You were picking berries with the women.
That's right.
You know what I mean? Like,
That's what people be doing nowadays. You know what I mean? Picking berries with the women. They're becoming women. Shit's real out here.
What am I supposed to look for?
Where you have to look up like the most likely victims of sexual predators, weak fathers, predators with, I don't know. How would we word that?
Do predators target children with weak fathers?
There we go. Thank you.
In regards to what you were just saying, Mo, it makes sense why nature kind of designed us to receive that dopamine from being on the hunt and doing things like that actually makes you, formidable, because it ensured the survival of our species.
100%.
Right? And even to this day.
Yeah.
Hey.
Just imagine, let's just say something happens where all the electronics, everything, all technology fails. What are we gonna do then? All the factories are down. Well, look what happened with COVID. They shut down factories for just a little bit, and people were rushing, buying toilet paper, grabbing whatever,
everything. It was the end of the world.
End of the world. Imagine if it actually shut down.
I'm shooting people. I'm not even gonna.
You're gonna have at that point. You might
Listen,
have to, bro.
yes, that's when the monster's coming out.
And that,
trust me.
Okay, I just found a predator thing on video that before getting the target, he was looking at their families.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's on Instagram right now, but at least there's one. Well, not at least there's one of them, but yeah, it is something that they do.
Oh, for sure it would be. For sure it would be.
Yeah.
And not only that, you heard stories about, let's just say, someone's daughter getting raped, and the dad goes nuts. You know what I mean? Goes after the dude. Blah, blah, You know what I mean? A predator's like, I don't want to deal with that bullshit. You know what I mean?
I want that smoke.
Nah,
I don't want that smoke.
you better not.
Yeah, I'm gonna go after somebody that's gonna go run to the cops, and then they're gonna take their time, and I can get away. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or-
straight up, man. Or I'm gonna freaking get that guy too.
You gotta watch your kids nowadays too, man. There's so much stuff on the internet they can get into. You know what I mean? They can bait people on anything, anywhere,
Yeah.
man.
What makes a dad weak? What's a weak dad for you?
A man that's literally that doesn't take care of his physical health, his mental health, a person that does not read, someone that just doesn't be assertive in himself. And when he talks to people, a person that has no strength or backbone. You know what I mean? When it comes to like his own opinion.
You have to
Yeah.
assert some kind of confidence.
Yes, you have to have strong
when let's just
confidence.
say you're playing with your kid at a park. If you're never picking up your this guy's sitting at the park watching, right? He's
Yeah,
watching
man.
family.
You're not engaged with your children.
If you're
bro.
not running after your kid, that means you might get winded faster. If you ain't picking up your kid, that means you might not be strong enough to pick up the kid.
Yeah, or fight for your kid if you can't pick up your damn kid, bro.
We're talking about now
Yeah.
what a predator's looking for.
Yeah.
Let's just say a predator's
Yeah.
sitting at a park. What is he looking for? He's looking for maybe a dad that's always looking down a lot or shy or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
On his phone all the time. Yeah, for sure.
100%.
Situational awareness.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he has no awareness. He doesn't know where his kids are floating in the park and stuff like that. You want to have that watchful eagle eye.
Yeah,
you know what I
100%.
mean?
So
you wanna have
if a predator's sitting there and he's not looking at his kid all the time, seeing where he is, if he's not focused on his children, that's easy. As soon as he turns his back, gone. You know what I mean? Done.
100% because you know I'm like super eagle. Not just that, I'm in the mix with my babies. I ain't even
I see
trying.
you. You'll be in there.
Yo, I'm in there. I'm like a child, but I'm a gangster ass motherfucking big ass ninja that will mess some shit. When I walk into a place, I assert dominance. You know what I mean? My presence alone, people look at me and they're like, "That's a big nigga." You know what I mean? No joke. I make sure of that people see my dominance, my strength, and it sets me apart from those weak little people. And I mean that in a humble, respectful way at the same time.
Also, they watch how you interact with others,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They watch the way you interact with somebody else.
Yeah.
If you interact with somebody else and you show that confidence and
Yeah.
that, you know what I mean?
That you turn it on, turn it off. You're just
They'll
like,
know.
yeah,
You know what I
no,
mean?
no.
Well, let's say I'll give you an example. You have a dad out there, but it's just like, like flirting with the mom or like, you know what I mean? Just like being with the mom and not taking care of the kids. It might have showed that characteristic of being out there and like all the characteristic that you said about a dad, but it's not actually like taking.
Yeah, but there's also you need to pay attention to your children. Yeah, they're not just looking to see how weak or strong you are. They're also looking to see if you're paying attention.
Attentiveness.
If you're not paying,
that means you don't care about your damn children. You
that's
know?
the number one thing they're looking for.
Yeah.
That's what they're looking for. The first thing they're looking like, who's not paying attention to their children the most? I'm going after that kid because I have more time to grab that.
That's
kid.
what the predator was saying on the video. It says, "I'm gonna go for the dad that is not a threat.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If not, it's not going."
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Become a threat. Be the monster that you need to be to protect your family, your children,
And yourself.
and yourself. I was getting that. Shoot, man. Give a brother some time. Damn. Okay, question for the audience. Have you ever felt like the world took advantage of your kindness? And what did you do? Please comment and subscribe and like. Or like, comment, and subscribe. Whatever. Oh yeah, don't forget to share. That's number one. For Brother Mo, from a scaffolding perspective, you see a structure rise and fall. How do you relate the personal growth and resilience after leaving the hustler lifestyle?
You mean like, I didn't get the question. You're saying like if you've seen a scaffold fall?
No, the rise and fall, like the structure of it coming, the building of it, and then of it coming down.
Dismantling.
Yeah, dismantling.
Okay,
yeah.
Yeah.
The rise and fall, like your come up.
Yeah,
and come
like
down.
scaffolding?
Yeah, to like your resilience and growth from leaving the old life you used to have.
So when I started scaffolding, I wouldn't say I fully left my hustler mentality or my, you know what I'm saying?
Let's go.
To be honest.
Mindful hustlers.
You know what I mean? I was kind of forced to.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? I went to jail. I got out. I was like, you know what? I'm going to lay low for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to work. You know what I mean? Yeah. I never fully left it till later on in my life, till after that.
Yeah.
But yeah, but with that, I kind of, before I was 24/7, that's all I did. That was
Eat,
me.
sleep,
you know?
drink.
Exactly. That
poop.
was it. That was it.
The hustle.
That's all I did. After getting out of jail and I transitioned into working legit, it kind of gave me the little steps I needed to slowly get away from it.
Yeah.
I would say. And it was hard, bro. It was hard. You're talking making 20, 30 bands a week.
Yeah.
To 6 a month. You know what I'm saying? You're like, what
Real
is
talk.
this? You know what I mean?
Mans can't survive.
Not only that.
You have to learn to.
Get up when you want, do what you want. You know what I mean? Now you got to answer to somebody. You got to go. It was hard, bro. It was hard. I had to go to work. They'd be like, okay, I'll bust my ass and I'll build the scaffold. And they'll be like, I'm like, look, I crushed this. I'm going to go have a smoke. No, you ain't. What do you mean, no, I ain't? You know what I mean?
You work for the man.
Exactly. So you got to do what they tell you, when they tell you. And we have a problem with authority growing up. You know what I mean?
100%.
So it was hard. It was hard for sure.
That's why run your own business.
But
be the boss.
But you got to start somewhere.
But you have to start somewhere.
Right? You can't just do it right off the bat.
100%.
Right?
You have to take the knowledge from everything that you do in life. You know what I mean? You have to start somewhere. Even if you're at the freaking bottom, the best place to start is the bottom because you know all the layers.
I can say the dynamics. Best thing that happened. One of the best things that's ever happened to me in my life was getting busted and going to jail.
Hey, me 100%. Too. 100%. It was probably the best thing. I never knew how to cook until I went to jail.
Me neither.
I never knew how to make my bed properly until I went to jail. I didn't know how to do freaking construction, use a measuring tape or do anything.
You know what's the most important thing, though?
And I finished high school. Let me put that out there.
You know what's the most important thing, though? That I feel like I learned? I didn't appreciate my time.
Oh, shoot. Yo, me too.
What you got until it's gone.
Hey, you know that. Yeah. You don't know what you got till it's
time
gone.
Is important. Like
yes, it's the only thing you cannot get back.
Exactly.
You can always get possessions. You can always get freaking other women or freaking clothes or whatever the heck it is out there. But you know what? The only thing that's irreplaceable is time. Even if I could turn back the hands of time, and I think about it, I still wouldn't change half the things. I just do it a lot quicker and faster and be ready for it. Because
if you change, the thing is, we can't go back in time. No. And if you do turn it back the hands of time, maybe the knowledge you would have had would have left too. You know what I'm saying?
That's what I say. I still do everything.
You are the man you are today because of what you went through throughout your life. You are the monster you became today.
Hey.
Because of what you went through in your life. If you didn't have those situations and be in those situations or do what you have done, you wouldn't have been where you're at right now.
You lose all the strength and wisdom that came from that shit.
Exactly.
Hey! Boom, 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 boom. Beep, 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 beep. Don't forget to put that in there. Okay. Question for Jace.
What up?
In music and visual production, the industry can be ruthless. How do you balance being creative while protecting yourself from exploitation?
So essentially, one thing I've learned is like new client, you got to set the boundaries. Otherwise, people will try to take advantage of you.
Oh yeah, I've seen that for you one time.
Yeah, exactly. I've been finessed and, you know, you live and learn, it is what it is. But if I ever work with somebody new, I just like set those boundaries right away and let them know. And if they compromise on that, I'm like, no, we had that conversation. I'll put it in text.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you remember when we said this? Right, this is the way we do it. So now you owe me that money, and that's what it is.
Especially in business.
Yeah.
If you're nice in business, you're getting walked on.
That's right.
You're getting robbed. 100%.
That's right. You have to be a wolf of Wall Street.
It's like the game.
Yeah.
You're too nice in the game. You're getting
You're
walked on.
You get rolled. You're gonna get rolled. You gotta be a monster.
Excuses for days. Oh, my pack is missing. Oh, I got robbed. Oh, you know what I mean?
Why did you get robbed?
100%.
Yeah. Yeah, you dumb mother.
You know what I mean? There's so many excuses.
Robbed here.
You know what? It's true. I've been robbed of my freedom, robbed of a good woman, robbed from having a relationship with my freaking oldest son. I've been robbed of my heart. I've been robbed. I just been robbed.
But you know what I'm a strong believer in, man? I'm a strong believer in God puts these situations in front of you to get you
Where you need to
ready.
be.
No,
Yeah,
not to
Yeah.
get you where you are right now.
No.
Well, essentially,
Yes.
to get you where you are right now, to get you ready for the next step in your life, right? To get you ready for
That's
the
right.
next, even the next adversity. You know what I mean?
Hey, let's go.
It's better to be prepared for danger than be unprepared.
That's why you got to be a monster.
Be a monster. Okay. You were always good, but they mistook you for your weakness. Being good doesn't mean being a pushover. You spent your whole life doing the right thing, walking a straight line. Less for me. Staying loyal, showing up, but people mistake that softness. They see your patience, but assume that you will not bite them. They see your humility and think you don't have the heart to strike back. But what they don't realize is that you've been choosing your peace, choosing your battles. Not because you're incapable of war, but because you understand what war will truly cost you. And that can cost you everything. What is a situation where you got into battle and it cost you more than you thought you could chew? Mo.
Well, this is a good one. That's a good one. There's a lot of situations, man. A lot of situations. It happens on a daily basis.
Yeah.
In a sense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to pick your battle. Even at work, let's just say scaffolding. When I was scaffolding, same thing. You know, you got to pick your battles. You're working with other journeymen, right? He wants to build the scaffold a certain way. You want to build the scaffold a certain way. You tell him why you want to build the scaffold this way. He disagrees. Sometimes do you
sure
want
you
to
check
fight
the
on
cameras.
site and go hard, or do you want to be like, yeah, go ahead and do it?
Yeah.
To me, I pick. There's certain things. If it's not affecting me, like if it's not affecting my health or my sanity,
Yep.
by all means, go ahead, do it your way and see. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If I feel like I'm right, do it your way, and then that way, you'll prove to yourself that I was right. If I know I'm right, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. You're gonna find out.
Yeah, but if I'm gonna sit there and fight somebody, you're disrupting your own peace.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm gonna sit there, argue, fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't let people do that kind
No,
of stuff.
sometimes you just
gotta
gotta let it be.
let it be.
Let it go.
You let it go. You gotta walk away. You gotta just freaking set yourself apart from like the rest of them. Like I said, if you want to be a monster, be in control of yourself. There's many times when people took my kindness for weakness or exploited me in many ways because of my good nature. Back when I was, hustling and doing this other kind of stuff, there was this guy that I was working for. We're going to say no names. This guy that I was working for knew that I was big, tough, strong, had a head on my shoulders. He would literally take off, have me run this phone by myself in a town that I had no idea about freaking.
Been there.
Yo, straight
there.
up. Had nothing to do with anything. I'd work my ass off, put my life at risk, do everything, find new clients, do all this. He's telling me because the phone was dead. So do this, do this, do this. So I made this phone freaking bumping as hell, you know what I mean? And then he come there and just reap the reward and give me like 20%. 20% when I'm like, yo, this phone was
And
dead.
then come back and say, I made you. I made you.
Yo,
You
trust
wouldn't be
me,
where you are.
if it wasn't for me,
Trust, bro,
well, guess what, man? You wouldn't be here if it wasn't for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yo, who's the one that just made you $60K and you give me a fucking $5,000? You're like, huh? What? $5,000 after I risked my life? You know?
Been there, bro. Been there.
Not just that, you know, you're actually creating your own, but you know, and the benefit of all of it, while that guy's at home, you're actually getting to know the streets, and people start to respect you, not them. You know what I mean?
100%.
Because you're coming that beast.
And then when it all goes down
Yeah.
or whatever, or when you leave,
Yeah,
now they're
You're
like,
oh my
what
God,
is happening?
what just happened?
and they're trying.
Yeah,
Can you get a hold of him? Can you talk to?
What happened to you, big dog? I thought, yo, this is your thing.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
And
But
ultimately, you're the one who learns those skills and
Yes.
then fend for themselves. And
Yes.
what are they gonna do? Because they never did it for themselves.
Exactly.
Right? So they're doing
Exactly.
self-service.
But
Yeah.
also in their and not in their defense, I don't want to say it like that, but also most of those guys have been there. You know what I mean? Like they did build it and they did, so they have done that work.
Well,
But then now they're using others, right? Now they're like,
no, but sometimes, yo, like some of these
but
individuals.
not all of them. You have, bro, I met dudes that parents are loaded.
Yeah.
Loaded. Like you're talking parents are millionaires. You set for life when you were born.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they want to be in the streets grinding.
Yeah.
Why? In your right mind?
Yeah,
are
it
you
doesn't
in
make
the
sense,
street?
man.
I don't get it.
Yo, I had no, like, not say have no choice, but I was easy susceptible for money because I didn't have that father figure. I didn't have that
Me and
monster.
you almost had the same kind of childhood growing up. You know what I mean?
100%.
We were pushed into the game.
Yes, we were pushed to be the fathers, and when we were young, you know what I mean. You're the man of the house. You're the man of the house. You're the man of the house.
Yo, we built. You want to talk about monsters?
Yeah.
We built that. If people like me and you
Yeah.
didn't go through what we went through, we wouldn't have that monster instinct.
Oh, straight
I don't
up.
think so.
No, I wouldn't.
We wouldn't.
Hell
But
no.
because we had to fend for ourselves,
Hey.
and we messed up over and over again, and then
That's
realized, yo, this guy's screwing me over. I tried
Yeah.
with this guy. I tried with this guy. This guy's screwing me. This guy's screwing. We built that.
Yeah.
We had to. We would have drowned
Oh, 100%.
if we didn't tame that monster inside us and use it.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Facts.
Yo, what's that freaking quote by Rocky? Rocky 5. How many times you get hit
or
and
you
keep
get
getting back up. This is how winning is done.
Ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard can you get hit and keep moving forward. How much can you take and keep moving forward?
Let's go. That's life.
Is always gonna throw punches at you. Life is always, nobody's life is easy. No matter, you got this people now looking on Instagram, seeing how people are living.
But
They're
they
like,
forget the struggle that it
they
took
don't-
to get there.
Not even to get there. They're still struggling.
Yeah.
Just because they got pictures of them doing nice things and videos of them. You're not in their life 24/7. They're still, punches are still getting thrown at those people too. Even a successful person has drama. You know what I mean?
Their baby mamas are still bitching.
Woo!
Exactly.
That's
But
another story.
their problems are just on another level. You know? Ours is like, yo, why are you buy me a car, buy me a, you know? Them are like, why are you buying me a private jet?
Yeah, straight up. Where's my jet? Huh?
You know,
I need my own
there's
business.
different levels.
Yeah, there's levels. There's levels to all shits in the world. You know what I mean?
But you know, even billionaires have problems. Even billionaires have
That's
stress.
right.
Yo, okay, sometimes I think of this. Like, when a woman wants a successful man, but she also wants a man to spend a lot of time with her. If you gotta pick one, because a successful man's not gonna have a lot of time. You know what I mean? Sorry?
I agree, actually.
Yeah, yeah.
I do agree.
Because
Did you hear that, people?
But
did-
the time that you're spending with her should be
quality time.
Should
I
count,
agree. Yeah,
right?
should be quality
I'd rather
time.
have quality time than have a lot of you.
Yeah, but what to you have to know your woman too. What does your woman? Some women think quality time is sitting at home watching a movie. You know what I mean? It all
T'Challa.
depends.
Love language.
You gotta know where love
Go.
is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's I don't know if this is for another podcast, but that's all about communication.
Question for the audience. Have you ever had someone underestimate you because of your kindness? How did that make you feel? Please write in the comments. Like, subscribe, and all that other kind of jazz. And share it.
Just share.
Share it, people. Share it out there. Question for Brother Mo. As someone who has transitions from street hustler to scaffolding, have people from your past tried to test you or pull you back into that world?
100%. 100%. And not only that, your own mind tries to pull you back into that. You know what I mean? Situations in life pulls you back into that. Being where I was and hustling and stuff, it's easy to go back. And I had a good rep. Well, I have a good rep. You know what I mean? So it's easy to go. I can go, and all my boys that are still in the game know that they trust me wholeheartedly. They know I would never do them wrong. You know what I mean? So that alone makes it easy to go back because that door is always wide open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It becomes, and it's happened. Like I told you, remember when you asked me about scaffolding, I wasn't completely out.
No.
That's happened. And certain situations in my life where I'm like, yo, I overspent here, or I overdid this, and I need to get back, so I need to do this one too, or whatever, just to get back. You know what I mean? Eventually in my life, it got to a point where
It was affecting your morals.
It was
and values.
affecting me spiritually.
Yes.
It affected my soul. I don't know how to explain it, but it just got to me. Like, I broke down, man. I was like, I can't do this. No. And I wasn't even scared of, like, Jack Boys or the cops. No, it wasn't even any of that. Like, bro, I've been doing this all my life, 24/7, been dealing with it. Like, it becomes second nature. You know what I mean? So it's not about being worried about that stuff. It's about, I felt like I was hurting my soul by doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That.
I
do.
felt like I was deteriorating inside.
Yeah,
you know what I
because
mean?
it was now affecting your morals and your new values that you
Exactly,
created
exactly.
for yourself.
And I got a little more religious. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not gonna sit here and be like I'm the most religious dude in the world right now.
Heck no, man. This is a free space.
I did get a little more religious, and I do believe in what you put out in the world, you become a product of.
Yes.
Facts.
And you know what I mean?
That's why we're
Knowing that
creating
life
this,
is
though.
contributing in a sense like to a lot of destruction.
Exactly, right? And and morally, it just got to me, and that's what got me. Not the money, not the, what got me out, or not the cops, not worrying about going inside, not worried about getting killed, but those are actual dangers. I'm not saying they ain't.
Yeah, but that wasn't
but that wasn't my deciding factor. My deciding factor is who am I?
Yeah.
What do I want for myself?
Yeah.
What do I want for me to or what do I need for myself to truly be at peace?
Yeah, to be one with yourself. You know what I mean? And it is a tough thing, man.
Yeah. I had the nice rides. I had the nice clothes, the nice things. I going to the bars every night, balling out $5,000 a night, you know what I mean?
Stupid.
Dumb, you know what I mean?
I don't know how many times I was doing that,
Right?
man. Freaking retard.
I'm sure we crossed paths back in the day.
Oh, hell yeah.
Bro, we didn't know each other, yet knew each other back in the day. It was funny.
Yeah.
But it was, I think we were even riding on opposite sides back then, maybe.
We kind of were. I believe we were.
but I mean, it was definitely an eye opener, and definitely I felt like I was causing more destruction internally.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It does. It gets to a point like that where it's just too much is too much.
taxing.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's taxing on your
And then
mind.
I got to thinking too, like, I still want to be successful. I'm not saying, okay, I don't want no more money, or I'm
There's
you
just
know what I mean?
other ways to go about it.
And then you got to also be, speaking about being a monster.
Yeah.
One way of being a monster is mentally, right? You got to be like, yo, I did it.
Yeah.
I was in the game. I did it. I made crazy amounts of money. I lived that life. If I can take that energy that I put into that, and what I built into that,
Exactly.
Take it into somewhere else.
The hustle's in you, bro.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what product it is, nigga. We hustling.
That's right.
We out here. That's what we out here doing, man. It's like you can hustle a pair of shoes. You can be hustling clothes. You can hustle houses. It doesn't matter what it is, man. Even if it's concrete, nigga, we slanging that shit. You know what I mean? We out here, dog. We out here making differences, making changes, how we move. You know, the hustle is out here. You can hustle even with Christ.
Yo, when I first got out of the game,
Yo, it's like, yo, that's right. The mindful hustlers, baby.
When I first was transitioning to get out of the game, I thought, who am I gonna be, man? I don't got no skills. I don't got nothing. You know, bro. My whole young adult life, I was on the street. You know what I mean, bro? I didn't like, even in my early 30s. I was still grinding, you know what I mean? So I didn't build a career. So I got down on myself in a sense where I'm like, I got no skills. I didn't go to school. I got my GED in jail like you know what I mean?
Hey. I got a diploma. Like, let me get that straight. Yo, don't try to downgrade me. All right? I got a diploma in there.
You start getting down on yourself because you're like, I got no skills. I don't know what to do. But then you gotta snap out of it, man. It's never too to learn.
Straight up. Yeah. You just gotta know, freaking get that closed-minded gap out of you.
100%.
There's a million ways to hustle, bro. It doesn't have to be a freaking narcotic.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
That's right.
You know, my boy Jace Digital's, he's slanging that music. He's slanging them videos. You know what I mean? Mo slanging those freaking scaffolders.
Not no more. I'm out of the scaffold business.
Whatever, slanging cars. Whatever it is, dog. He's slanging cars. He's doing things, man. We all freaking making new money moves, bro. That's what we do.
He became someone.
He became something more than the freaking what his past was. You know what I mean? He's a new creation in Christ Jesus, or in Muhammad or Allah, or listen, whatever it is.
God.
Yeah,
You know
God,
what I mean?
period.
God, period.
He's new creation in God, period. Yes, that's what I was trying to get
Whoever
at.
can take it however they want to take it. You know what I mean? You believe in Jesus, you believe in Allah, but that's all God.
Yeah, 100%.
Everybody, that's God, right?
Yeah.
Unless, I don't know, there's like atheists and stuff. I guess that's another story, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
To each their
There ain't
own,
no
you know what I
atheists
mean?
here. We're all religious, spiritual individuals, one way, shape, or form. And we love all
Listen, if
spirituality.
to me, it only makes sense.
Yeah, me too.
To me, if there was no God, doesn't make sense.
Me too.
You know what I mean? But we can get into that on another time.
That's a different topic. We're going to get there another day.
Yes, sir.
Here's a question for Jace Digital. From your creative background, have you ever had to flip the switch to defend your work or your vision?
Oftentimes when we're with a client or
Yes,
like,
there we go.
They're gonna have their own opinions.
Yes.
Right? And everybody thinks they're Spike Lee. They're gonna bring all their homies to the shoot, right? Everybody thinks they know what they're doing. And ultimately, if you're the person who actually has done it multiple times, you understand, like, listen, I get what you're saying, but that's not gonna work out. And here's why. Right?
Yeah.
And people can kind of get like agitated, but like you got to be like, listen, bro, I respect you and your project, and I'm gonna have to tell you no in this situation. You have to tell your little homies over there to shut up because they're not Spike Lee and they've never done this. You know what I mean?
You got to tell them, yo, respect. You came to me for this reason.
Exactly.
If you don't want to respect my opinion, do it yourself.
And my own grind,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Straight up.
You wouldn't be coming to me if you knew
know?
what the you were doing, you know what I mean? Sorry, if you didn't know what you were doing. Sometimes the world gets to you.
Sometimes emotion
gets to you. It's just that we're just passionate people, and sometimes it comes out in the wrong context. You know what I mean? We're just expressing ourselves in a way that, you know, y'all people can understand. Let's go. The moment you decide to flip the switch, there comes a point where the kindness gets tested too far, where the weight of being overlooked or underestimated and disrespected makes you pause. And that's when you realize you're not the sheep anymore. And you think, and these people think you are, you've been suppressing something deep inside you, that killer instinct, that predator, that awareness, that warrior, that resolve has been lying dormant. But not now. It is time to flip the switch. Question for the audience. What would it take for you to flip the switch and stand up for yourself? Even for you, Mo, what is that?
Sometimes you got to know your situation.
Yes.
You got to know the situation you're in. And when we say become a monster and become aggressive, it does not necessarily mean become violent.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
You don't have to use your fists, man.
You don't have to use your fists, bro. Even in the game, there's situations where I'm sure you've been and I've been where it got intense.
Ooh,
But
has it ever?
we could have either decided to take it in a violent way and it would have created more problems and more, or use your smarts and being aggressive with your words
yes.
and how you worded certain things.
Yes, exactly.
To diffuse the situation.
Amen.
Because war is expensive, bro.
Sure is.
War is expensive.
Ask anybody.
And not only that,
Ask Trump.
you know what I mean? Yeah. That's the thing. So you being aggressive and being a monster doesn't necessarily mean taking it to a violent.
And resorting to that.
Resorting to, exactly. But you got to be aggressive in your tone. Mm-hmm. You got to be aggressive, but you also got to be smart. You got to know when to have a tone, when to not have a tone.
Hey.
You got to know what to say and when not to say certain things.
Tell 'em, Mo.
You know what I mean?
Preach.
You can become too aggressive
Hallelujah.
and the situation doesn't become diffused. You know what I mean?
Emotional intelligence is key.
Exactly.
Yeah, emotional intelligence
100%,
is key,
100%.
ladies and gentlemen.
Make savage the body, make civil the mind.
100%.
Did you hear that, people?
It is an ancient Chinese proverb.
It's Hanzo, dog. It's Hanzo. We all know the time. Okay, for Brothy Mo, Mr. Brother, has there ever been a moment on the job where you had to stand your ground?
100%.
Not just physically.
Well, you can't get physical on the job. You get fired.
That's right.
You get physical nowadays, man. You can't even say the wrong thing on the job. You get fired. So yeah, you gotta. See, I became a foreman and a general foreman, right? Working scaffolding, and I was in charge of a lot of people, right? So you're gonna have guys that disagree with you. You're gonna have guys that don't want to do the job. You're gonna have guys that are gonna argue with you, tell you this is not safe, this is not safe. And of course, I'm not gonna let them do something that's not safe. I was very good at standing up for my guys. If it was not safe, then I'd have or not an argument, but I'd bring up points on why it wasn't safe. And then but you have to give and you have to take in an argument. You know what I mean? You have to give the right points, but you have to also know you got a job to do.
That's right. 100%.
So again, you gotta listen, understand what they're telling you, and then you gotta adjust. You gotta pivot. You know what I mean? You gotta pivot in a way where you can make them happy and make your employer happy, right? Make the people, your employees happy and your employer happy at the same time. It's hard to do sometimes and there's also people. And you're never going to make everybody happy.
Hell no.
You're not going to make everybody happy. But
I can't even barely make myself happy.
As long as you do what's right and this is how I worked it. How I worked it is I did what's right. And if I followed what's right in my point of view, I don't care. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
Like if I knew this is right, like my boys didn't want to work on this scaffold because it wasn't safe. And then I went to my employer. I'm like, they don't want to work here because it's not safe. And then he tells me, they're your guys, get them on there anyway. I'm going to be like, no.
No,
there's rules in place for this.
Yes.
This is what, and I'll check it out. I'll see why it's not safe.
And you go to the safety officer.
And then I'll talk to the safety officer and come up with a plan.
That's right.
To make it safe so the job can get done.
Finished.
And then I'll go to the employer and be like, we need this and this and this to make the job safe so this can get done.
Properly.
There's rules in place and you got to follow them, right? But you can't you also have to be with your boys. Okay, shit rolls downhill. Like if my guys aren't producing good, I don't look good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And then vice versa, right? If I'm pushing them too hard, I don't look good. You know what I'm saying? So the employer's always going to try to get you to push. They're always going to be like, push hard. I want production.
But they ain't doing the work.
But that always falls short because when you're pushing your guys, you don't get production because they're going to be like, screw this.
No, you don't get perfection.
I bust my ass. Where all it's getting me is the same pay as if I would be sitting down on my ass. So I'm just going to, you know what I mean? But when you treat them good and you're like, yo, man, take a little break here, or you know what I mean? you treat them somewhat good, that's not outside the box, like that's not like overboard.
Yeah.
They end up liking you more. They end up being like, I want to work harder for this dude because he actually treats us good. You know what I mean? On the flip side, though, you get guys that take advantage. And that's when you got to be that monster's got to come out. 'Cause they take advantage. And once they take advantage, it's like, yo,
put that
this guy
DMX girl
lets
there.
us, yeah, this guy lets us sit on our ass. This guy lets us take mad breaks. So I'm just going to milk this break a little longer. Well, you got to point those guys out. And you got to tell them, yo, like, I do good for you. You're going to keep pushing my limits. Either you're going to get canned, you're going to be on the layoff list, or, you know what I mean, I'm going to put you on some other crew that's going to be on top of your ass all day long and ride you. Which one do you want? You know?
That's why it's important to reward competence more than you punish incompetence.
And that's what I did. Like, when my boys built a scaffold and busted their ass and finished it, that's when I'd give them a break.
But what
You
if
know
they're
I mean?
incompetent all the damn time?
Well, then you fire them and get a new worker.
There we go.
But you gotta be careful. You gotta be careful because there's rules on that too. You can't just fire a guy just like that. You know what I mean? There's labor laws. There's all that kind of stuff.
Okay, same thing for you, Jace. Has there ever been a moment or a job where you had to stand your ground, not just physically, but mentally, to earn respect?
Yeah, you know, kind of like Mo said, you can't really please everybody in every situation. There's definitely been times where, like, you know, I have the end vision in mind and somebody else has different opinions. Egos clash and people want to be right and whatnot, right? And ultimately, if I'm thinking about, I want this to be good in the end rather than please this person, I'd rather them be pissed off at me than we have this shitty project that has my name on it. So in situations like that, you gotta kind of like be okay with that person being mad at you, knowing that this is for the greater good in the long run.
Something I had to stand my ground when I first started in scaffolding was there's racism.
Oh, damn right.
There's if you ain't, you know what I mean?
Bro.
Like if you ain't like a white, sorry to say, white redneck hillbilly type, they're on you. You know what I mean? If you ain't driving a truck and you know what I mean? Like,
bro.
You know what I'm saying? Like they, and also not only that. No, sorry, let me rephrase that. Maybe I'm wrong. Not redneck hillbilly, not like that. But because I'm Arab and because of the media. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What do they think? They think we're all a bunch of terrorists. We're all, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Go back to your country. Why are you here? I got camel jockey. I got all that shit, bro. And
Sand Ninja?
I got that too. That's right. But you got to stand your ground. And when you stand your ground, surprisingly, people are like, oh, you stand your ground, it's going to be a beef. Surprisingly enough, when you stand your ground, they respect you.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? This guy ain't too bad. Hey, let me try to get to know this. Oh, and bro, I became loved by those guys. Like, those guys loved me. They're like, yeah, he's Arab, but he's cool Arab. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
I caught that too.
which is still kind of racist, by the way. But
Yeah. It's a little racist, but you know what? That's the world. It's a white man's world.
You know what
Straight
I mean?
up, you know, but you know that? It's changing.
It
You know,
is
it's changing.
But it's still a white man's government. It's still a white man's society. It's still the people are rising up. The people are seeing it.
Even the house is back to
Are the minority in Canada.
yeah, it is true. It is very true. But the White House is still white.
Ever since Obama left.
Yeah, yo, Obama, you did some good stuff. I ain't gonna lie, bro. You were on the right path.
I got a whole different opinion.
Whoa,
I got a whole different opinion.
what?
But it's not because of race or anything. My opinion is there is no good politician.
Okay, yeah, 100%.
And the good
they all have.
There is good politicians, but they never get elected.
Yeah,
You get
that's
what I'm
right.
saying?
Of course they don't,
I
because
feel
they
like-
don't control the
Yeah.
agenda. Anybody that's against the agenda gets killed.
I don't feel like
They don't feel like killing those guys.
I feel like who's really in charge are big corporations
Yes.
and what make money.
That's
it's
right.
not politicians.
It's the
And they're
big
telling them what
pharmas.
to do.
Big pharmas.
And not just big pharma, big pharmas, conglomerates.
Conglomerates, yeah.
Yo, whoever owns big pharma owns other shit too. You
That's
know what
true.
I mean? Like, just saying this alone, 1% of the whole world runs the world. 1% of the whole world has more money than 99% of the world. How much is 1% of the world?
I would say it's less than 1%, probably.
I was probably less than 1%.
Not just that. You know what you can do? Use your own phone and do it. Fact checked. We're getting fact checked right now. Jace Digital, he's on his grind right now. He's finally doing his job.
80 million.
80 million people.
And I bet you it's not all. And think about it, 80 million people.
Yeah.
But a lot of them are related to each other.
No, 100%.
You know?
100%. That's why, you know what? I'm going to make my own hedge fund.
And like you said, I bet you it's even less than 1%. Like those people, there's levels.
There's levels. The power of the demon within. The demon inside. It is not a curse. It is a tool. But it's only useful if you know how to control it. A man with no darkness in him is too virtuous. He just is naive. But the man who has the capacity for destruction and violence, yet chooses to wield it with discipline, that man commands respect. You know, right here. That man who commands respect, the monster within isn't evil. It's a necessary evil. It is the force that ensures and protects yourself, your family, and is also your mission. Question for the audience. Do you think having a dark side makes you dangerous or disciplined? How can you harness the dark side for good? Like Batman.
I think an important way to harness your dark side or you harness the monster within you is to control your emotions. If you don't control your emotions, it's easy to like anger, for example. If you have that monster and you don't know how to, and you get angry and you don't know how to control that anger,
then you're just a monster.
Then that monster's gonna come out. You know what I'm saying?
Then you're just
and it ain't
a
gonna
monster.
be good, nice.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, exactly. Then you're just a monster. You're not a warrior that can be a monster.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You have the capacity just to freaking switch up and be like, listen, yo, you want this smoke or not?
Yeah. Like, look at the
I
great...
give you the choice, you know? I'm telling you right now, if you keep going down this direction, you're going to see a different side of me that you weren't prepared for.
Yeah, if you look at the great warriors in this world, like Alexander the Great, Genghis Khan, I'm sure they had to control certain emotions to be able
to command their
exactly
fleet.
Right.
Like someone said they were out there at Genghis Khan. His head was getting chopped off.
No, they were getting boiled alive.
Exactly.
Oh shit.
Yeah, you didn't.
Yeah,
that was his MO, was boiling niggas alive.
Yeah,
and fucking your wife. I'm sorry.
That was his strategy, right? To rule whatever he needed to rule. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying what he did was right.
Sure worked though.
Yeah,
It sure worked.
No, he just cut you, boiled your ass, and then did what I said before.
Which ain't a lie.
It ain't a lie. Half of Asia is literally descendants from him.
They say one. No.
Yeah.
They say 1 in every 7 men in the world is related to Genghis Khan. Has Genghis Khan DNA.
That is some pimp.
1 of every 7.
Yo, listen, dog. You want beef? I'm taking your girl. That's a monster. That's a real monster.
He took the
He's like, yeah, he murked out all the men, boiled their asses, and then, you want to be boiled with your husband or have some lees?
But
yeah, line up.
He probably didn't kill everybody. He probably took some. Bro, and...
No, he killed the men. All the sons and children became his freaking warriors because they're still young. You know what I mean? So he can be manipulated.
That's what I mean.
Yes.
Exactly. So,
yes.
And they grow up and he has a different... So when he's going somewhere else, he's bringing someone that's not a Mongolian to go and like... You know what I mean? Because people were scared of him.
Yeah.
Like if a Mongolian shows up to talk some kind of bargaining or this or that, people are going to step back. You know what I mean? Like Marco Polo.
Yeah.
Marco Polo dealt with Genghis Khan and stuff, didn't he? I believe so.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? He didn't kill everybody, right? Like he had to pick and choose. He made a point. He killed most.
It's like, listen.
So be like, boom.
It's like, listen, you want to get boiled with the rest of them? Or join me? It's like, yo,
or
you want my wife?
Sometimes it's not join me, it's work with me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, straight up. Or your ass is getting boiled tonight. You know what I mean? We're putting you on the cooking pot.
Then your wife's gonna knock
Yo,
you.
Yeah, straight up.
And we were talking about how men were back in the day.
Yeah.
Look at that. That alone. Imagine trying to fight against that or trying to stand up to that.
Just imagine today's people trying to go against fucking yesterday's
It'd
people.
be easy.
Yo, we get wiped out. Wiped out with a bunch of punk ass little waste man. Yo, what's your push-up game? What's your push-up game?
You know what they do right now? They just bow down to him.
Back then, you had to be barbaric. You had to be a fucking savage if you wanted to live. Literally.
100%.
100%.
And the guys, they probably guys that made it in that fleet.
Yeah.
You know, he probably didn't catch everybody.
Oh, of course he didn't catch everybody.
You got 100,000 guys in a battlefield. You killed most of them, but
Yeah,
I'm sure
but yo,
a
listen.
couple guys.
No. You know what I
jumped
mean?
into the forest.
But listen, if everybody is accountable for everybody, and you have that in everybody's head, if someone ran your homeboy next to you because your ass doesn't want to get boiled too, he'd be like, I thought that was your partner, so you're gonna get boiled. So I'm saying, like, listen, like on the battlefield, okay, everybody's accountable for everybody. I'm pretty sure you operated like that. It's
no,
like,
I'm not talking about Genghis Khan's guys.
No.
I'm
Oh,
talking about the guys he was fighting. The guys that are about to get boiled alive. They
Yeah,
seen that part
yeah.
Or they heard stories. You know
yeah.
what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you
People
know,
ran before the fight.
100%.
People ran before the fight, for sure.
Or in the fight.
In the
You
fight.
got 100,000 guys
Yeah.
in the fight. You know what's going south. You know, at some point, it's like, do I want to sit here and die with the rest of them?
But that's the thing.
You got to weigh it out. Is
Yeah,
that
but
being
that's
a man,
the-
or are you giving up at that point?
I would not judge anybody.
Yo, listen,
I would not judge
listen.
anybody
That
either,
just
straight
brings
up.
in the fucking softness of how we are nowadays.
but-
Because you know what? Those niggas would die
No.
for their country.
Oh,
They will be
you gotta think
getting
of this.
boiled with their man down.
But
I
you
don't
got to
care.
think of this, too. They could also go back. You got to think of this, too, man. Like, you're in a battlefield, you're fighting. Let's just say not your whole army's there. It's only a battalion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're losing the fight. You know most of your boys. The general might tell a group of guys, yo, you guys need to bounce. Warn the rest. This is their tactics. This is what they're
Yes,
doing. You know
that's
what I
true.
mean?
But those
That's
are
smart, too.
that's people telling them. But the rest of them are sticking around to die with their man
What
down.
if the general's dead?
Huh?
You gotta think quick and on your feet, and I'm gonna.
That's
think quick.
because they're second.
I'm gonna be that
Yeah,
guy going
second.
to kill the rest of them. Fuck y'all.
Yo, that's why they're second commando. You know what I mean? 100.
The monster will come outside and kill the second in
Yeah,
command.
yeah.
I'm the captain now, and I choose me.
Everybody's gonna be boiled.
Yo, straight up. But yeah, someone usually does go back to tell the next village,
Yeah.
this is happening. Make sure you guys are ready because he's coming.
Yeah.
My mans are dead.
Yeah,
right now,
exactly.
my mans are dead. They died.
And
Yeah,
also-
they died so I can get over here and tell you niggas. And now I'm gonna fight with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die after. I'm gonna
they
beat
were
you.
probably smart enough to have everybody on the battlefield and have a group of guys just watching. I would think so, right? Just like those guys weren't meant to fight. Those guys were meant to watch, record tactics.
Yeah.
Yeah,
reconnaissance, yes.
And record tactics.
Yeah.
Record how they're fighting and what tactics they're
Yeah,
using.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So when they go back and there's a second battle,
Yeah.
they know these are the things these guys do. You know what I mean? We gotta
100.
adapt to this, right?
100%. There's always those freaking spies out there. You know what I mean? Ninjas in the fucking trees.
Yeah,
Just
bro. Spies nowadays there's spies. There was spies back in the day too, man. There's
Yeah,
people
man.
infiltrating people too.
yeah,
you know?
man. 100% there were
like,
spies, man. I'm just talking about ninjas. That was back in the day.
Yeah, like the Ottoman
There's still ninjas
Empire,
out here. I'm right here.
The Ottoman Empire.
Facts, I'm still a ninja. Just to let you guys know, I've been training in the dark black arts. Okay, all right. Let's get back to it. We're getting on to a new part. Jesus wasn't soft. He was a lion. People like to paint Jesus as a soft, gentle, meek figure, but that's not the full story. Jesus was a lion. He flipped tables when there was corruption, took over in the temple. He rebuked hypocrites without fear. He walked straight into danger, knowing his mission. He didn't back down to no one. He wasn't harmless. He was the most dangerous man who ever lived because he had the ultimate power and yet chose to wield it with righteousness. That is a true model of today's man. That's how you balance the monster within. Question for the audience today is, do you see Jesus as a warrior figure Or have you been taught to see him only as a gentle giant? How does that change your perspective? All right. And for Brother Mo, do you see any connection between the structured discipline of scaffolding and or the order of faith you can bring in a person's life?
I don't just put, like, when I look at my faith, I don't just look at it for scaffolding. I look at it in my life in general.
Okay.
It teaches me how to be, how to treat people, how to act, how to, you know what I mean? My faith, it's weird because Islam, to certain people, it's terrorism and death and destruction. That's not my faith at all. If you really research, and that's what's wrong with the world, man, because they see what they see in the media, they see what's going on in certain areas.
No one takes the time to read.
No one takes the time to read and do research.
Yeah.
No one does their due diligence. You know what I mean?
They just take what they get in the news.
Yeah, they just take what they get in the news, build their own interpretation of something.
Sheep.
And then verbal diarrhea comes out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's literally, they're just sheep.
Exactly.
They're lambs led to the damn slaughter.
My faith says I gotta respect everybody. I gotta treat even swearing is not really. I don't know if it's like, don't quote me. I'm not the most religious, or I haven't even read the full Quran yet. You know what I mean? So, but it teaches us to not even swear. Like our prophet, peace be upon him, also talked gently. You know what I mean? And he fought battles. Like there's like you were saying, be a monster and when you have to be, but be righteous and pious and treat people well when you have to be. So we got to kind of learn from that. We got to treat people a certain way. We got to, no matter of their faith and what they believe in, and you know what I mean, as long as they're not harming you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Then you treat them nice.
Yeah, exactly. Even meet people with the same prejudice as they give you.
Even our prophet, peace be upon him, in times of war.
Yes.
When he had prisoners of war. In our religion, you have to treat prisoners of war. You have to feed them. You have to treat them good. You have to feed them. You have to clothe them. You can't just put them in a concentration camp and, you know what I mean? Treat them like shit and, you know what I mean? You have to actually take care of them. What?
Caucasian people.
They use religion. It happened in every religion.
Yes.
When you talk about Muslims, Christians, every religion, they use religion
as a power tool,
as a tool to control and manipulate.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And brainwash people who want to be religious to become what the opposite of what their religion teaches.
Yes. Or what God teaches.
You
know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Religion is man-made. Dissect and decipher yourself, because like straight up people nowadays are just, you're so brainwashed. Like I said, there's sheep and there's shepherds, and not all shepherds are great.
And people, do you know how people also brainwash religion? They take a piece of whatever was said, and they show you that piece when there's a whole story to it that wasn't clarified.
They choose the context.
Exactly. So they choose the context, and look, it says in the Quran or it says in the Bible this.
But they're just explaining their own narrative.
Yeah, there's
their own
more
narrative.
to it, right?
They're just explaining their narrative.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? In conclusion, just to let you people know, you were never weak. You were never soft. You were just waiting. But now it is your time to rise. A time to embrace. Embrace the monster within you. Not to destroy, but to defend. To conquer, but not to bully. To stand tall, not kneel. The world may not be ready for the men that you are going to be turning out, or women, men or women that you're going to be. But that doesn't matter, because you're not here to be liked. You're here to be respected. And respect is what we're trying to do out here. Just want to say thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Jace, Brother Mo, and we out. Mindful Hustlers.